Hi everyone, my name is Steve Hollitz, and I am a real estate attorney. Now this video will provide a quick summary of the residential closing process here in Westchester County, New York. The closing process I'm going to describe here generally applies to houses, condos, and co-ops, though there are obviously some variations on each type of property. The closing process itself usually takes about 60 days from when the contracts are signed. I like to break down the closing process into 4 stages: the pre-contract, the post-contract, the pre-closing, and the closing. If you are watching this video, you are probably at stage 1, the pre-contract stage. In this stage, buyers and sellers, through their real estate agents, have come to an agreement on the basic terms such as price, down payment, approximate closing date, what is included with the house, what is not included, and contingencies such as the mortgage contingency. Now, if you're a buyer of a house, it's very important that you have a home inspection completed before you sign contracts, because any changes to your offer based on the inspection must be in writing in the contract. Once the basic terms are agreed upon and you have what is called an accepted offer, then that's when the attorneys usually get involved. The contract of sale is prepared by the seller's attorney, and it is the legal basis for all of the agreements between the buyer and the seller. If it's not written in the contract, then it's not part of the deal. The buyer's attorney will review the proposed contract. He or she may want to make some changes, and once both sides come to an agreement on the contract language, the buyers sign the contracts first and deliver the down payment, which then gets sent to the seller's attorney to be signed by the sellers. The seller's attorney holds the down payment in escrow until the closing. Now, once the contract is signed, that is when the deal is official. Typically, until both sides sign the contract, either side can walk away. Now, the second stage is the post-contract stage. During this stage, the seller usually sits tight and waits for the buyer to complete 2 things: obtain final loan approval from their lender and obtain a title report from a title company. This stage usually takes about 30 to 45 days. Buyers work directly with their lenders through the loan process, which includes an appraisal of the property. The lender orders and receives the appraisal. At the same time, the buyer's attorney is ordering title searches to see if there are any liens against the property, such as mortgages, judgments, or other liens which the seller will need to take care of prior to the closing. The title company will also check the town records for certificates of occupancy, along with open permits and violations. If a survey is required by the lender, this is the stage when the survey is ordered by the closing attorney if the seller was unable to provide an old survey from when they bought the property. Now, once the buyer's lender approves the loan and gives the clear to close, and once any issues on the title report have been cleared up, you are in stage 3, the pre-closing stage. It's at this point that the attorneys schedule the actual closing date. The sellers have to move out of the property before the closing date because, unless other arrangements are made, the closing is where the buyers will receive the keys to their new home. The closing is stage 4. Again, about 60 days from when the contracts were signed. Closings are usually held at the bank attorney's office, but may also be held at either the seller or buyer's attorney's office. Buyers do a final walk through the property with their agent, usually the day of the closing. Now, typically the buyers, the sellers, the buyer's attorney, the seller's attorney, the title company, the bank attorney, and the real estate agents all attend the closing. Closings are held during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, and usually take about 1 or 2 hours. Your attorney will give you detailed instructions on what to bring to the closing, but usually the seller signs the deed, the buyer signed a ton of loan documents, but the main thing that happens at the closing is that the buyer brings cashier's checks for the seller and the seller brings keys to the property. Once all the documents are signed, the buyer slides the check across the table and then the seller slides keys across the table. And that's it. The buyer now owns the property and can go directly to their new home as soon as the closing is completed. Now again, this is a very brief summary of the process. Check out some of my other videos where I break down each of the stages in more detail, and also where I describe the variations in the process depending on whether it's a house, a condo, or a co-op. I hope this information was helpful, and thanks again for watching. Take care.